Hello, and welcome to Connecting Philosophy, a channel devoted to connecting philosophy to the real world around us. In this video, my purpose is to focus on a few misconceptions that I believe most people have about philosophy. Before we get into, we get into like more serious topics, or even general topics, there's a few misconceptions I think outside of the gate need to be addressed and just so we all have a clean plate. Some of you may believe some of these things, some of you may not. But I think it's just good to get out of the way. These are things I'd like to clear up. So I have three. Um, these three are things I personally heard, and also that I just have based on experience, I have a feeling that lots of people believe these things. They are the following. Isn't it all just subjective? Isn't it all just someone's opinion? And don't we have science to tell us these things? Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, subjective and opinion, that's subjective is an opinion. There's a reason I'm making a distinction. It'll be clear in just a moment. So first off, isn't it all just subjective? Uh, no. Short answer is no. It's not just all subjective. A longer answer is that uh, saying that it's all just subjective means that it's without meaning and that it's not necessarily talking about anything real. That misunderstands what philosophy is really trying to do. Philosophy is talking about fundamentals, nature of reality, the nature of knowledge, morality, how we ought to live. Um, that isn't meaningless because honestly, if that becomes meaningless, then it kind of seems like lots of other things become meaningless. If you don't care about the nature of knowledge, then do you really care about science? I mean, science is about gaining knowledge. You know, the nature of reality. You know, um, if you're religious, I think maybe you care about the nature of reality, and you may want justifications for that. So it's not just all subjective. It's not subjective in the sense that it's meaningless and why are we bothering with this. No, there's some real fundamental things that philosophy can get at, or at least make you think about. Um, that doesn't make it meaningless. Uh, Second, all just someone's opinion. Um, no. Once again, this this misunderstands what philosophy is trying to do. Here's an opinion. Ice cream is the best dessert. Here's a philosophical opinion. The mind and the body are separate substances. Um, the difference here is, I think, kind of straightforward. You know, is ice cream the best flavor? Well, that's going to depend upon, how much you like ice cream. Or is ice cream the best dessert, I should say. You know, um, that's going to depend. Are the mind and body separate substances? There's a lot of philosophical discourse all about that. That's what's called the mind-body problem, which I will cover in a future video. So that's just not as simple as, well, Kevin thinks that, the mind and the body are separate, and well, Josh, he doesn't, and that's just their opinions. I mean, they have reasons for it, and they may have reasons for, you know, thinking ice cream is the best dessert, but the reasons for thinking the mind and the body are separate substances probably have to have a lot more justification, a lot more evidence, um, and a lot more reasoning, thinking out. Where ice cream, best dessert, uh, you know, it doesn't. And quite frankly, it has no bearing on the world. No bearing on the world at all whether ice cream is the best dessert. So that's why it's not just someone's opinion. We're talking about something, in the example I just gave, we're talking about something metaphysical, something that talks about reality itself, what the way reality is. Once again, um, that seems more than just an opinion. And whether someone is right or wrong about that matters. It matters for everything we do. Okay. Now here's the third one, and I think this is this a lot of people I feel going to have this. And it's understandable. I think in a sense the way the world is, and of course I'll say at the onset I'm not anti-science um, in the slightest. I think science is very important, and we should definitely cultivate science and all that. But science is a tool. And I'll probably say this throughout several videos. Science is a tool. It's a specific tool. So, don't we have science to tell us things? The short answer is yes, of course. We have science. Science tells us lots of things. Um, but here's the crux. Science is fundamentally, one, an empirical tool, but it's also a methodology in and of itself. Now, philosophy has its own methodologies, which maybe will almost certainly be a future video. But science has a method, and science is it's contained. Now, philosophy, you could argue, is contained too, but the difference is that science can really only explain the empirical world. Um, and even then, I mean, it has its limits. There's some things that science, even empirically, can barely reach. Quantum mechanics, I think, is a fair example of that. Um, and philosophy is kind of there, on the one hand, maybe to explore other things that we may know a priori or outside of experience. It's also there to judge, in my view, a lot of the preconceived notions and assumptions that are built into science. And you may say, well, didn't you just say science is a method? It's just a process by which we evidence, hypotheses, figure, make theories. Yeah, but science is used by humans, and humans make lots of assumptions. And philosophy is there to kind of, to kind of as a guide and to kind of push at those assumptions, and to talk about and critique how the best way to do science may be. Philosophy of science, huge branch of philosophy, also a future topic. Um, and one of the ways to do philosophy of science is to say, okay, well, how should we actually go about doing science itself? So, once again, yeah, it's right to say, oh, science should just tell us these things. Science can tell us a lot, but don't be fooled into thinking that science can tell us everything, or that philosophy can tell us everything. Um, Honestly, there is no telling us everything. Don't believe that. Tell us a lot, uh, you know, you know, but everything, uh, not so much. So those are three things that I think are kind of misnomers, um, things that people probably more commonly believe about philosophy that I just wanted to, at the outset, just get rid of. You know, and perhaps you listen to this and you're like, oh yeah, he's on right in the money. Perhaps you're like, well, that's just a bunch of bullshit. I mean, I don't believe that at all. And that's good. I mean, that's fine. I mean, this is it, yeah, it's just my opinion. Well, I suppose in a sense it is my opinion, ironically enough. But hopefully, if you've listened and you maybe had some of those views, maybe this just gives a little inclination to go, huh? maybe he's right. And if you want to push back, well, that's great too, because then I've got you. I've gotten you to engage. So, my job here is done. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Um, the next video will be getting into the first real topic, and it's just basically starting right from the beginning. I'm not going to tell you too much more than that. You'll see. This has been Connecting Philosophy, a YouTube channel dedicated to connecting philosophy to the world around us. Until next time.